On November the 9th, 1979, John Cleese and Michael Palin were invited to appear on a late-night BBC Two discussion programme to debate the film in the presence of Mervyn Stockwood, the Bishop of Southwark, and Malcolm Muggeridge, born-again Christian and well-known friend of Mary. The stage was set for one of TV's all-time great ding-dongs.
It was obviously going to be quite a heavy interview, perhaps the most, the strongest criticism we would face. And John and I remember actually sort of mugging up for it, like for an exam, you know, going through my books and, yes, sort of getting all the arguments together.
When I look at that figure, I mean, I know you're going to say Brian isn't Jesus, but I mean, that's just rubbish. The whole thing is quite clearly, if no Jesus had lived, that film wouldn't have been produced.
The bishop sitting there in all of his purple with the world's biggest silver crucifix. I've never seen one so big, fingering it, and the voices were all headmasters' voices, and they were all dignified.
It's quite humbug to say that this is not a ridiculing of the founder of the Christian religion and of the incarnation in an extremely cheap and tenth-rate way.
Muggeridge, until he was 60, was a well-known womanizer and drinker. And I suspect to some extent he only got religion after he couldn't do anything else. And Mervyn Stockwood was a homosexual, as everybody knew, and also, as it happens, a heavy drinker.
As it went on, an extraordinary thing happened, was that we were the ones with the serious points, and they were the ones who were playing to the crowd.
I simply don't think it was worthy of you. It was the sort of thing, as I say, that at Cambridge the footlights did on a damp Tuesday afternoon, or the lower fourth when I was a schoolmaster.
You keep making the basic assumption that we are ridiculing Christ and Christ's teaching, and I say that we are not.
But do you imagine that your scene, for instance, of the Sermon on the Mount, the scene in your film of the Sermon on the Mount,
right,
is not ridiculing one of the most sublime utterances that any human being has ever spoken on this earth? Of course it is.
No, it's
Absolutely
making fun
not.
of the guy who's remembered it wrong and of the people who don't understand it and miss the point.
Well, I think
that's really unfair, because I think that a lot of people looking in will think that we have actually ridiculed Christ.
Yes.
Physically. Christ is played by an actor, Ken Colley. He speaks the words from the Sermon on the Mount. He's treated absolutely respectfully. The camera then pans away. We go right to the back of the crowd to someone who shouts, "Speak up," because they cannot hear him. Now, I mean, if that utterly, undermines one's faith in Christ, then I think a faith cannot be terribly strong.
I started off by saying that this is such a tenth-rate film that I don't believe that it would disturb
yes, I know you
anybody's
started with an open
faith.
mind. I realise that.
I'd never been so sort of angry in public before, I don't think. It was just the way they dealt with it, the sort of venom used just because they liked the sound of the words.
I was aware Michael was steaming, but I was kind of enjoying it because they annoyed me, and I reckoned that we were nailing them. I thought we were winning.
All you've done is to make a lot of people on a cross singing a music hall song. It's so disgusting when you think of it.
A lot of people go away very happy, laughing at that, their faith not touched one jot.
I don't think it'll touch your faith. I don't think it will.
I had quotes in my pocket from Malcolm that absolutely validated our position and destroyed his own. And out of kindness, I didn't pull them out and read them out because I was feeling kind of sorry for him. Isn't that unbelievable?
You have succeeded in reducing something which has inspired the greatest art into something which is presented in terms of the lowest art. That's your feat. That's your
achievement. You set up your own terms that we have to influence people. We're not saying we want to influence people. We're trying to make them laugh, make them happy. I mean, that's something that helps.
Gentlemen, I'm going to have to call a halt. I'm very sorry.
And just as it was being wound up, Mervyn the Bishop delivered his pièce de résistance.
Well, you'll get your 30 pieces. You'll get your 30 pieces of silver. I'm quite sure.
For those of you who didn't attend Sunday school, this is a biblical quote and refers to the money that Judas was paid to betray Jesus Christ. Days later, the show Not the 9 O'Clock News would send up the whole encounter, effectively turning the tables, with Rowan Atkinson as a bishop who had made a film based on the life of John Cleese.
I mean, I actually find it deeply offensive that in a country that is still ostensibly a python-worshipping country, that a 14-year-old child can actually get in to see this film. I mean, there is little enough proper python around these days without parading this distorted garbage about.
Bishop, you directed the film. Did you expect this kind of reaction?
Well, I certainly didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition.
It's a bit cheap, isn't it?